have lived in 10 countries. That's that. And I'm a son of Singapore. I was born in Singapore, but I've kind of then, after that, by the time I was 9, I'd lived in 5 countries already. So moved around with my parents who moved around. I then spent quite a lot of time in my working life with a large financial organization. Those were my bad years. And so I was working in a bank, and I then lived in more countries, mainly in Asia, Hong Kong, India, Singapore, not Singapore, Indonesia, Taiwan. In 2010, I left all this and I started a workshop called Authentic Lives. It's something that basically helps people discover their purpose. Who am I? Where am I going? And how will I get there? Are these 3 questions. So then about a few years ago, we started something called Authentic Business, which is a social enterprise in the UK. And here we are, the 3 of us. I'm married with 3 beautiful grown-up boys. My wife and I live in a beautiful part of the UK called, yes, that's Authentic Lives. That's the workshop we run. So thank you, Wendy. And we live in a beautiful place called the New Forest. One thing you need to know about New Forest is that it's a place where horses, donkeys, pigs, they have right of way. That means to say, if you're driving in the New Forest, you have to give way to these animals. It's a beautiful part of the world. If you ever get a chance after lockdown finishes to come to the UK, do come and visit us in the New Forest. It's a beautiful part of the world, right? I think that's enough about me. So why don't I hand over to Israel or Wendy? Do you want to go next? You're on mute, Israel.
Go, Wendy.
Everybody, I'm Wendy, and I am calling in from Singapore. This is where I live, and I'm born and raised here. Spent a few years in Canada studying psychology, and then I came back to Singapore in the 90s to apply psychology, firstly to schools, to students. I was a psychologist at institution. And then I founded my own practice in 2003. So I'm passionate and very intentional about inspiring resilience into the community, looking after mental health and emotional well-being. I have 4 children and 3 are in university. So I have all of them back home now after a year of a little bit of an empty nest. So it's an interesting time to have all kids. And my husband is actually stuck in a hotel because he just came back to Singapore. So he has 14 days in isolation. And today is our wedding anniversary. So
happy anniversary, Wendy.
So I went to the rooftop that was opposite his hotel room and waved at him like, and sent him some lunch so we could at least eat across this 30 meters apart from each other. So that's my life. And I'm really, really glad to be here this afternoon to be, supporting and facilitating all of you to find your 2 words that describe your personal purpose. And of course, Andrew and Israel are like my brothers, we work and inspire and pray and play together in distance, right? Distance. But so wonderful to be here. Over to you, Israel.
Oh my goodness, it's your wedding anniversary. Honestly, the stories that Wendy has.
It was your parents' anniversary last night, right, Wendy? Was it your parents' anniversary last night?
Wow.
Parents' anniversary last night, and then mine today. I think we all like September for some reason.
Wow. Anniversary weekend. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So once again, hi guys. I've had the pleasure of meeting some of you on the chat, speaking to some of you as you tuned in to the African Snow session yesterday with myself and Tahira. And it's a pleasure to be with you again. For those that do not know me, my name is Israel Uyelumade. Surname is a Nigerian surname. I'm born in the UK, married to a Danish wife by the name of Catherine, and we also have 3 beautiful children. We live in Bath. So if you get yourself to the New Forest, you've got to come to Bath also. It's another beautiful part of the world, and anybody that likes Roman history, Roman architecture will be stunned by the beauty of Bath. It's still one of the world's heritage sites because we have a lot of natural Roman architecture still present, and Bath is a very beautiful, beautiful city. So this is where we live. A little bit about me. As you would have heard yesterday, my background is I'm an actor and a director. I still am. An alumni of the Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts, and then onto the Royal Shakespeare Company, and I had the privilege of doing some BBC things as well as Hollywood movies, where some awards were won for the TV shows and films that I've done. Then I entered the world of business, really understanding that, you know, communication is the greatest currency that we have, and therefore, why aren't I seeing that in the business settings I started to work with? And then I walked alongside a global firm for about 10 years as an external consultant, and then became part of that mechanism for the last 6 years. And now I've been a director of authentic business coming up to 3 years. And that's really where things started to have to change and have a lot of fun. Working a lot around the world with really helping people to understand really what their purpose is. We use the word purpose, but actually what is it? And how can you leverage the true understanding of what your purpose is to making sure that you become what we call a transformed being in body, mind, spirit, and soul? Then you can radiate that transformation that you carry, which is healing, life, and fullness of who you truly are meant to be in your organization, in your families, in your local communities, whether you're in church, whether you're not in church, whatever it may be, that you can be congruent in the knowledge that my true north looks like this, and this is what happens when I show up. And so I've had the privilege of doing that with Andrew, who is my bestie, and Wendy, who is my sister, you know, all over Asia and in other capacities with the firms that we work for around the world. And now we're here with you to have some fun, really make this time a special time for you, and we'll go from there. That's enough from me. Thank you.
Thanks, Israel. What you've put it so beautifully. You know, one of the things that people misunderstand is that what actually purpose really is, right? I remember in the early 90s reading The 7 Habits. I'm sure some of you read that book, Stephen Covey's book on the 7 Habits. It was really powerful. It really moved me. And part of that was that I then wrote down a personal mission. I wrote down a mission statement. The problem was I forgot about it, and it sort of stayed in written away. And I discovered it about 15 years afterwards and realized when I read it, really not much had changed since I had written it down. In fact, things that in some ways got worse. The problem with this kind of mission statements and vision statements is that they get written down and they get forgotten because they're too wordy, there's too much there, and we never really internalize it. So one of the things about purpose that we've discovered is that purpose is something like a fire that burns within you. It's not a motivation that comes from outside. It's not trying to obey someone, to try and match up to a standard you see outside of you. It's something that you can't help but do because it's burning inside of you, and it's a passion. So in this time together, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to just share a little bit about my life purpose, and I'm going to ask Israel and Wendy to share a bit about theirs to give you a flavor of what this is. So my life purpose, just 2 words. It's transfiguring lives. Transfiguring lives. And what does that mean? It refers to there's an incident in the Bible. There's a story about Jesus on the mountain, and suddenly people could see he shone. He started to his light that's within him came out, and people around, the disciples around him, could see the light that's coming from within him. And it comes from a place where I believe that each one of you in the audience, myself included, all of you have a light, and this light is inside of you. But over our lifetime, what happens is that shadows come in, and the light gets hidden away. So when I say transfiguring lives, what I'm trying to do for myself and hopefully for you today is that I'm going to try and help you rediscover the light that's in you. It's already there. It's not hidden, it's there. It's just then give you the courage, the encouragement for that light to shine. And that's what I do. And I've been doing that since, well, kind of all my life, but especially so since 2010. And when I left working in a bank and started this journey of helping people find their life purpose. And it's a fire inside me that's taken me to numerous countries. We've done our workshops in many different languages, and it's taken me now to the world of consulting, working with businesses, and hopefully soon, and maybe some of the audience can help me do this, working with governments as well, which is one of my hopes and dreams, to be able to do this, to bring light and to bring hope and to bring change that comes from the inside out. So those are what my 2 words mean to me. How about you two, Wendy and Israel? What do you want to share? What yours might be?
Mine is inspiring resilience, and became really important to me when I became a single mom when I was 29, and feeling like I can't, who am I to serve others? I felt flawed. At the same time, I also realized that, people like me who have been highly achieving, right? Super diligent and getting all the A's in school and all that, could also face setbacks and challenges. And so I made it my mission, and I felt it was like a calling to be able to raise resilience in the students I work with and the community I'm in. And so when I could distill it into that 2 words, it's so easy to remember, and for me to be able to live it in my life and my work. So now I've remarried. I have 3 kids and a stepdaughter, and I write books. I've got books like this that says, "Are you grumpy?" I have books like this on resilience, and I have books for teenagers to help them through setbacks as well. So, living my purpose is so important. And this year I'm writing one called Imperfect Parenting, that it happens to the best of us, in parenting in imperfect circumstances, and how do we find purpose and meaning in it as well. Yeah, so that's me and my 2 words.
Thanks, Wendy. I get inspired when Wendy talks. Beautiful. Thank you. My 2 words are unleashing heaven. Unleashing heaven. And it's funny because I remember my experience when those 2 words came when I did my Authentic Life workshop. And for those that come from a church background, because I know all of our audience do not, and that's okay, but for those that do, it was like giving my life to Christ again, all over again. The lights went on. The term I say is like being born again. And it was just this moment, this moment of complete and utter, oh my goodness, these 2 words explain all of the stories I've had in my life, from leading a football team, to leading the athletics team, to leading the drama club, to leading my now global team, of which 2 of my compatriots are part of that team. From leading all these different things, I realized there was a sort of culture I always wanted. And that culture was one that unleashed heaven. And I use the word heaven in the utopic sense, that all of us understand that heaven is a place of perfection, a place of joy, a place of lightness, a place of truth, a place of love. And so what I wanted to do, and what I realize I do a lot, is that in the teams that I lead, I set up an environment where people are able to thrive and be who they are. And so whether I'm acting or whether I'm directing, I want to unleash heaven. Whether I'm leading a workshop with Authentic Business or with the global firm we work for, I want to unleash heaven. So those are my 2 words, and they touch everything that I do as much of the time that it can. Unleashing heaven. Andrew.
Thank you. Fabulous. Great. Okay. So this is so what we're going to do now, we're going to actually just kind of take you through a session for all of you in the audience to find your personal purpose. So and Mark Twain said, the 2 most important days in your life are the day that you're born and the day you find out why. So today, for those that don't know, you're going to find out why you're on this planet, right? And here's here's a roll call. Okay, and to do that, I need you to do this because you need a piece of paper, or if you want to do it, you can do it. Let me just make this bigger. There we go. You need a piece of paper, and on it, I'd just like you to write the word verb and the word noun, verb and noun, verb and noun, and draw a T that way. So you're gonna have a space to write some words down, right? So Wendy's showing how to do that. And at the bottom, you can create a little space just as my 3 happy stories. Because in a minute, I'm gonna ask you to think about some happy stories and you're gonna jot them down. So I'm gonna give you a moment just to grab a piece of paper or take a notebook, just find an empty page and you can do that. You don't, any size would do really. It's A5, A4 is all okay, all right? So, but you need somewhere to jot down your thoughts. If you really have nothing on there, feel free to type on the chat, and you can use the chat as the way to capture your thoughts. But that would be a last resort because we might lose the thread as we go along. All right, so cool. Yeah, here are a few people that found their purpose in life. Wendy's showing you how to do. That's it. Thanks, Wendy. I think the world's broken down into 2 groups, people that know their purpose and people that don't. It's really that simple. And people that know their purpose do extraordinary things in their lives. And it's just that way. We came across so strongly yesterday when you were in the inauguration, the plenary, you listened to Jim speak and his life. And we've known Tahira all this time, and it's been amazing to see her life. And her purpose led her to this session. And the privilege of us actually all being together and sharing life together. So this is the activity. I'm going to just make the screen smaller. Here we go. How do we click here to minimize video? There we go. Right. So we can see one of the better. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to ask you to think about 3 happy stories, because this is how we find our purpose. Another way of thinking about your life purpose is the essence of your happiness. Now, isn't that wonderful? It's not something that you have to do. It's not something there's any sense of obligation on your life. It's just something that you're happy doing. It's who you are at your best. When you come to realize that about your purpose, you realize that the purpose is a wonderful gift. Right? So for myself, one of my stories would be, I was my oldest son Ben. He did very well and got into a great school. This is many years back, in the UK. And I said, if you get in, I'll take you diving in the Maldives. So I took Ben, and the 2 of us had a dad and son experience. Went out to one of the islands in the Maldives, and he was going to learn to dive in the Maldives. So that was my gift to him. So even before diving, we put on our snorkeling mask and we started snorkeling out. And as we were snorkeling, we saw all kinds of life under the sea, but suddenly there was a school of eagle rays just swam next to us. And there were 33, we counted, there were 33 eagles rays swimming together in formation. And we swam along with them for a while. And that honestly was one of the most amazing experiences in my life. We found out later that actually that's not a common occurrence. We're just snorkeling. We weren't even diving, right? We're just snorkeling. And it wasn't a common sight to see so many swimming together. So it's kind of like, and it was, my son was there and I was there, my dad and son together sharing a beautiful moment together. So that's one of my happy stories. And I've heard many others. So I've heard people say, when the first time we've jumped out of an aeroplane, for a lady whose 2 words turned out to be maximizing potential. She was learning to parachute, and that was her story. It could also be something that happens repeatedly, like for example on the screen I said, every time I take a walk in the woods, every time I go and eat at the hawker center in Singapore, every time whatever it might be, those are your happy moments that gets repeated over and over and over again, and that could be a happy story. I remember doing this with a bunch of bankers in the UK, and one of them said, "My happiest story is when I took my gap year between university and starting work, and that was just my happiest time." So it could be a single event, it could be something that happens repeatedly, and it could be something that basically could be a period in your life. Right? The most important thing is that you've got to have experienced it. Don't make one up. It's got to be something that actually is true for you. It could be from your distant past. It could be from quite close right to the present. It doesn't really matter. So why don't you think for a moment and just jot down on your piece of paper your 3 happy stories. And then I'm going to ask a few of you to come on stage and share those stories with us. All right, so okay, if you've got questions, you can write them on the chat. Yeah, so there we go. All right. Okay, so whilst we're waiting, while people are jotting down, Israel, do you or Wendy, do you have a story you want to tell about, what your happy stories might be?
I remember the week when my agent called me, and in 1 week I landed two things. I landed a TV show that won a BAFTA, and I landed Pirates of the Caribbean all in 1 week. And what she had done is that she had saved up the information to tell it to me in one call, because she knew from the casting director that I was in, and she wanted to see if I landed the other one because it sounded like I had. And then she called me, and I was at this really lovely Italian type delicatessens place in South Kensington, and the phone rang. She said, "Israel, will you go and find a chair in the corner of the room?" And I remember walking to the chair, and there was a table. She said, and I sat down. She said, "I have something I want you to tell. Are you sitting down right now?" I said, "Yes, I am." And she said, "I want you to know that this is what's happened." And she told me. And I remember that it was just because there were so many feelings that rushed through my body all at once. I still remember that today. It was an incredible time, an incredible moment. And then going on to film them and do them, it was quite amazing. A lot of fun. So yeah, so some of my stories are about me being in different locations, in Morocco filming stuff, in the Virgin Islands filming stuff, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, some great fun things to
Great stories, Israel. Right. I don't know how. Stop sharing. I'm going to just stop sharing here first for a while, and then would anybody like to come up on stage and share their happy story? Just click. I'll see you if you click. I want to come on stage and share that share story. There we go, Lyndon. So I'm going to welcome you on stage, and Mystique. Well,
Mystique.
Okay, two of you come on stage. Are you on yet? Okay, you'll take. Okay, so let's just. Okay. Great. Mystique, hey, welcome.
Hi, good morning,
Nice to see you here in this session.
Yeah, hi, Andrew. I missed you yesterday. I think there was working. It's only like a few minutes or so.
Oh.
So we got caught, and then I wasn't able to find you again.
All right. So, Mystique, you want to tell us a bit about some of your happy stories?
Yes. It's happy, and at the same time, it's like finding a purpose. Every time I'm happy, I ask myself always to what extent or why or something. It's like a cognitive thing in my brain. I like to organize things. So first is whenever I'm writing, I really feel like I'm in this bubble away from the world, and it's just me and the world that I'm creating. And at the same time, I ask myself, am I writing really just for me, or is there an audience that needs to hear what I write? Like people who who needs to hear these thoughts that I have to be of help to others. The second is my kids. My kids are 5 and 9, and they are really wonderful. They challenge my belief. They ask things and questions that makes me wonder if what I'm doing is really right. And I'm really happy to be challenged in that positive way by my kids. And the third is I've been traveling also in my whole career life. And whenever I travel, I love to observe people and things and cultures and beliefs. And I always ask myself as well, and this question makes me happy, and at the same time always ask me also for my purpose. Whenever I travel, do I want to get lost or be found? Like, am I running away from something, or I'm running to something? And that question makes me happy, and at the same time, like, I always wonder what is the purpose of these actions and what is the purpose of these experiences that I have.
Thank you so much, Mystique. We've got Lyndon here as well. Lyndon, would you like to share your story?
Yep, just took myself off mute. Probably my happiest story. There's a lot, but the one that's top of mind was last year. I walked the Camino from Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port in France all the way across the top of Spain to Murcia via Santiago de Compostela, where the remains of St. James are supposedly buried. So that was an incredible experience, just to spend every day only having to think about how far I was going to walk and whether I was going to get a pilgrim's meal or go straight to bed.
That's a great story. Thank you.
Welcome.
All right. So whilst people are sharing, has everyone now got? We're going to hear a couple more, but I want to make sure that all of you have a chance to jot down your story, because it's about you. And you need these stories in order to work to the next stage of our process of helping you find your 2 words. So if you haven't got those, just have a little think. And whilst we listen to the next person, anybody else want to come on stage? Val, I think you said you wanted to come on. And so, yes, I can do that. So I think you need to, I don't know how it quite works, but, and those that are on stage, if you want to come off stage, you're welcome I think you just click leaves, isn't it, or something like that, and you can then go off and go. But how do I do that, Andrew? So you
Request
need
access.
to. What do you click? Access?
Request
You had the same. Request access.
Access.
Andrew, one of my other happy places is on stage. Why would I want to leave?
Stay. You're welcome to stay, Lyndon. Very welcome to stay here on stage. Okay. All right. Cool. Tony has been waiting. Okay, Tony, let me just get you on.
Great.
Hey, Tony.
Hi, Tony.
Hello. Hi.
Hi, Tony.
Hi.
Would you like to share some happy story for all of us here?
My happy story, it's always about being in nature, any kind of nature where there's bush, beach, water, lake, river. Particularly walking in the Himalayas for the few times I did it was, the pinnacle, because of the power that you feel. And for me, it's about freedom. So I just felt so free. And traveling I've done a lot of traveling. So I love that feeling of being on the road and exploring and adventuring. And that's both in business world. It's not just necessarily adventures on the road, but in business and in life with creating. So I love to create, so I love to write. So it's all about conscious creating and realizing when you've had a win, when you've felt the receiving of what you're doing inside through something that you've laboured over, and then you get something to tell you that you've been heard in your.
Thanks, Tony. Well, it's beautiful.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So, let me just minimize you. There we go. Right, great. So, we've heard some wonderful stories. There's also one from Moses early on. He wrote down 3 stories here. You can see that on your chat. But the whole
when I sacrificed 2 university academic years to obtain my first black belt. So it's very safe to walk with Moses. Devoting quality time with children. When I quit a salaried job for the current service to humanity. Oh, wow.
Oh, very good.
Moses, love to meet you. That's amazing. Right. I mean, so we've heard a real variety of different stories. And that's how it is. We're all different, aren't we, human beings? And different things make us happy. Some of these stories are very exciting. They're like full of energy. Others are much more reflective, taking a walk in the beautiful countryside. But it's all part of what it means to be human. Okay, Val is sharing the story. Thank you. Wendy, do you want to?
Sure, I'll read Bells. 2015, I went on a 6-week safari in Kenya with my friend Dawn, who has been a cross-cultural worker in Chad and Kenya for about 30 years. Every new day was more amazing than the previous one. I love dawns. I love sunrises. Just the promise of a new day, isn't it? Yeah. Thank you, Val. I have a funny, happy story. It just came to my mind. I thought I'll share it because maybe someone here needs to hear this. So there was one period when I was Aunt Agony on radio, and so people actually write into the radio station in Singapore, and then I'll come on and actually answer these questions. So one day I had some kind of argument with my husband, which I cannot remember, but those days where you just had a fight and you can't remember anything anymore. But anyway, I had a fight with him, and I was like, really angry. And then I got in my car to drive to the radio station, and suddenly the radio came on to say, well, if you have a relationship problem, call in and write in your problems, and Aunt Agony will be answering your relationship problems. And then I stopped at that junction, and I laughed and said, God, you really have a sense of humor, right? Because there I was feeling like so angry with my husband, and and conflicted and frustrated, and I'm supposed to solve other people's relationship problems, right? But really, I think if you think about what resilience is, it's not about being perfect. It's not about like I've got a perfect life and therefore hey, but really, can we see the perfection even when we are in a crisis or in a difficulty, right? And have a great sense of humor to be able to laugh at ourselves, like laugh at myself. So that was, if somebody, there you go.
Thanks, Wendy.
Thank you, Wendy. So, we are just going to go to the. Okay, fantastic.
Oh, there's one more. There's one more, Andrew.
One more. There's one more. I mean,
Carrie says, I had a wonderful time in the Saint-Jean-Pierre port in France with Lyndon before he set off on the Camino. Then a few days later, I met up with him in the Pamplona, Spain, and where are we? To celebrate our 25th wedding anniversary before he continued on the Camino. Wow, that's special. That's beautiful.
So there's a shared story as well. 2 stories coming together. Is that beautiful? That's lovely.
Roshani says, when I was blessed to buy my own home in 2000, when I was gifted a trip to Switzerland, and when I realized that I was made to leave my 23-year-old glamorous media and films job by following my spiritual calling. Very nice.
Great.
Thank you, Roshani.
So, what we're going to do now, you got your piece of paper. We're going to do a little bit of work, not too taxing. What I'd like you to do is to think of one of your stories, and on your piece of paper, just jot down some verbs. So on one side and some nouns on the other side relating to your story. I'll go verb first and then do nouns first next, right? So your life purpose word is made up of a verb and a noun. So for example, planting potatoes will be grammatically correct, but probably no one's core purpose unless you are a farmer in Idaho, right? So those are the but the idea is we need to find now for you to think for your own stories. Just pick one. Don't pick all three. Just pick one and come up with as many verbs as you can ending in ing, right? This is a present participle. So transforming, experiencing, flying, dancing, for example, are stuff I'll put up there. And then once you've done with the verbs, 6, 7, maybe more, right? Then you can move on to the nouns. The nouns are basically, it could be a concrete noun like an aeroplane or, the woods, Tony in your story, or, nature. But it could also be something which is abstract, something that you feel like freedom or adventure or happiness or wonder or truth, for example. So those may be things that actually then are things that really resonate. So again, come up with 6, 7 or more words. And if you really can't think, I'm going to leave this on screen so you can have a look. You see at the bottom, there's a number of suggested words that you could have, on the verb side and the noun side. If you can read through that list, if it really helps, you can borrow some of those words as well. So we're going to give you a few minutes and just jot it down, and then we'll go into the next part. All right. If you've got a question about this, you can just type it in the chat, and we'll try and answer the question if you're not sure what to do. I'm going to give you some alone time now, just to jot things down. Whatever you do, don't try and match the verb and the noun, right? This is not the time to do that. It's just come up with a list of verbs and a list of nouns. So because you'll find that it's much easier later on if you do this. Okay. How are we all doing? Would you like Wendy and Israel? Think we need to give more time, or think we've got enough now? What do you think?
If anyone needs more time, just say yes in the chat. Do you need more time? Yes, okay. Lyndon does. Okay, so we'll give a bit more time, a couple more minutes.
I just realized we have a bunch of writers that we hear on this audience. The words should come easily to you, and so it's like it's not. But really for you, this is your craft. So
It's going to be a novel soon. Discovering Your Purpose is the next book.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, fabulous. All right, let's just I'm going to go on to the next slide. Okay. The next thing I'd like you to do is if you can just select your top 3 verbs and your top 3 nouns, right? You can circle it, underline it, put an asterisk next to it. Now here, what's important is not, you've got to like the sound of those words. You've got to like the word, right? It's important that you like these words. So pick words that you like. Don't think about your stories, just think about the words. If they have a resonance for you, the words mean something for you, and just pick them. But take 3, maximum 4, right? You can only get up to, those are your top 3 for the verb side, and then another 3 for the noun side.
As you can see, Andrew, Roshani has posted hers.
Wow. Yeah.
Her verbs and her nouns.
Fantastic. And if some of you like Roshani's nouns and verbs, feel free to copy, pick them up. It's fine. In this process, whatever works for you, whatever we can find words, they're fantastic. That's lovely, Roshani. Okay. Great. Okay. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to just stop sharing for a bit, and then I'm going to. Okay. I'm going to ask for a volunteer now, but we've got to this stage. Everyone now should have your top 3 or 4 verbs and top 3 or 4 nouns, right? So, Roshani, would you be willing to come on stage? Since you've been so brave in typing everything online, do you want to do that? Sure. Okay. Fantastic. So we'll just ask to be invited, and we'll bring you on, right? And
I'll start writing some of her verbs and nouns.
Great,
yeah.
thanks, Wendy.
Okay. So and whilst we're doing this, you can follow the process, but I'd like you also to look at your own words and to play along, right? So because we won't have time to go through everyone in the same way in this session, so it'd be really helpful for me. I'll cue you in to make sure that you're doing it yourself. So listen to what's going on, but also just start doing what I'm about to do with Roshani, I think. I think Roshani. Okay. Can she come on, or do you think? Okay, give me a sec. Great.
Great, here's Roshani.
Okay, wonderful. There we go.
Hi.
Hi, Roshani.
Hi, Roshani. Hi there.
So lovely to see you. It's a pleasure. I just loved all your posts yesterday on the inaugural event, and you were posting away. And so I wonder what she looks like and what she's like. So it's great to see you. And thank you for being a volunteer for this process. All right. So
thank you for this wonderful session.
Yeah. Okay, great. So Wendy's going to start scribing. I'm going to actually just maximize Wendy so you can see her, and then Isra and myself, we're just going to work with 2 words, right? Live. So the thing to do is here's an issue. Wendy's copied down all your verbs. Can you tell us which are your top 3?
Top 3
verbs,
verbs.
and which are your
Top 3 words.
Yeah.
Eliminating, transforming, awakening.
And some of you, and And your top 3 nouns, what are they?
And my top 3 nouns: destiny, people, happiness.
Would you like to tell us very briefly the story that these verbs and nouns come from?
So this comes from where for 23 years I was in films and television media in mainstream Bollywood, in Indian cinema industry, and absolutely had no inclination of spiritual seeking of any kind. And right in the midst of life where I wanted to make my own film, universe had it the other way. And I started having these experiences which I could not fathom or I could not understand, which slowly opened up to a different world altogether, pushing me into my spiritual calling. And for 3 years I kept on grappling with it. But after 3 years, when it came to a point of surrendering and a point of just a certain knowingness, which didn't have a word, but I left my career entirely from lakhs of paying job to all the glamour in the industry to everything towards my spiritual calling, which I didn't know where it would take me. But all I knew was that I had to do it. And that's what I did 11 years back.
That's great.
Wow, thank you for sharing.
Makes some sense. Thank you. Thank you. You notice when Roshani was sharing the verbs and the nouns that she actually came out with more nouns than were on the original list. So some things come out, and that will be happening for you as well. So she added the destiny and happiness to the original list that was there, right? So you might find that as you're coming down with your top 3 verbs and top 3 nouns, that new words have come up. Okay, so that's very normal. That's great, because or what is popping into your head and you want to write it down. So please do that. So now, what I'm going to ask Roshani to do, we'll help you with this, and also ask you in the audience to do at the same time, is thinking of the verbs first, the 3 verbs that you've picked. I'd like you to come up with one word, one verb that summarizes all 3. It could be one of the 3 words that you have already. Or it could be a completely different verb altogether.
Yes.
Right. So with okay, it's very quick. Awakening. That's it. Okay. So see whether you can come up with yourself in the audience with the same thing. So try that.
My verb?
Yeah. Awakening.
Destiny. Destiny.
Destiny. Wow. You're very quick. All right. Okay. Excellent. So do the same thing with the noun side. Awakening, destiny. All right, fantastic. Okay. Now, great. Now, I'm going to ask you a few things. I'm going to check up with you. So for us with words, we like words that are different people like different intensity, we say, of the word. Awakening. So some people like big words. And awakening is quite big already, but if you want something bigger, you might be something like igniting, for example, or you might want something like unleashing, for example, or commanding even would be something that's even bigger, or you might like something a little bit less intense, feeling, releasing, that kind of words. So let me ask you, Roshani, do you like big words or do you like lesser words or somewhere in the middle? And is awakening the right word?
So I think I would use the right word, because for me there is no big or small. What is right for that moment, what is right for what is existing, and to try to pin it to that. And
yes,
whatever intuitively is coming at that moment, which is connecting to my consciousness. So I don't try to manipulate with my mind of
very good.
How it is, or how it is going to sound, or how it is going to be perceived, or anything. I honor the honesty of the soul.
Yeah, very good. Excellent. That's great. If you're in touch with your subconscious, your conscious is wonderful to see that happening. For some of you in listening in and doing your own word, you might find that what I've just said has been helpful for you. So you have got one word that you think this is the word, but ask yourself, is this the right level of intensity for me, right? So is this do I want a bigger word or do I want a smaller word? And there's nothing wrong with one or the other. It makes it's fine, whichever way it works. It's okay, right? So, and then on the noun side, you pick destiny. And listening to what you said, you were very sure right away that that's the word that you wanted to pick. So I'm not gonna ask you again whether that's the right word. I think you've got it there. So that's fantastic. With the noun side, sometimes what we're trying to do here is to look for a word that is, strangely enough, as general as possible. And the reason is, if it's very, very specific, for example, you might have someone that says designing watches, let's say, then, which is great, it's lovely, and it will really describe who you are in the essence, but you're only going to come alive when you design watches. But if I change the word watch to life, so designing life, suddenly I've got a much bigger stage in which to live out my purpose. Does that kind of make sense, right? So, so for some people, you might find the word life helpful, because life kind of encompasses so much. And if you like it more sort of concrete, like I do, I have the word lives, like for people, because I want to touch something not just conceptual. I want something to be alive. I can touch it. You could pick that kind of a word as well. There's no right or wrong, but maybe the word, and in this case for Roshani, the word destiny is a huge word, and it really has that resonance that you want to keep. So keep it. That's what it is. Keep it, right? So that's all. So just play around with your two words and see whether or not it's which one picks something. Right?
Yeah.
If you're stuck, don't worry. I'm not going to try and force the process. If you're stuck, we'll have a bit more time after this is done to come back and help you with the words that perhaps you're stuck with and try and find yours, right? Okay.
Also, Andrew, let me just read a couple others here in the chat. Kerry has got cheering, encouraging, exploring, adventuring, empowering, honoring. Melanie has got the verb unleashing. And in the noun, she's sort of like doubting between empathy and courage. So there's a lot of stuff going on, which is really great here.
Okay. Great. If you're doubting between whether it's the two words, this is what you do. You should look at the two words, empathy, courage. So you ask yourself the question, which of these two do I prefer? That's it. Right? That's all. And don't worry too much. If you land on this is quite a few people, after they find their two words, they will sleep on it, and the next morning they say, "Oh no, it's definitely empathy." Oh no, and then you might change overnight, or a new word might pop in as you sleep, and that's quite common when it takes place. So I'm just saying this so that you don't feel too committed necessarily. If you want to commit, fantastic. If not, you can try it on for size, right? Because it's something that it's like putting on a new piece of clothing. At first, it doesn't quite fit, but then when you wear it after a while, you discover, wow, this is really me. It really
yes.
Well. Okay. So we're going to go back to Roshani. And what we're going to do now, Roshani, is just going to ask you this question. So two beautiful words together. Awakening, destiny. So the first thing I want to ask you is, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being really boring and 10 being absolutely amazing, what would you give it?
Sorry, could you repeat? 1 being?
Yeah, 1 being very boring, it is really not exciting at all, and 10 being absolutely amazing beyond everything I can think of. Can you give me a number between 1 and 10?
For both of them?
For them together, awakening, destiny together.
Absolute 10.
Absolute 10. Okay, great, fantastic. So
beautiful. Can
you do the same? The rest of you, with your words, think about that for yourself. What is on a scale of 1 to 10? What does it mean for you? So the second part of the test is this. I'm going to ask you, can you, with these two words, awakening, destiny, can you relate it back to all 3 stories? Not just the one you described, all 3 stories.
Yep.
Yep.
Yes.
Does it work for all 3?
Yes.
Yes. Fantastic. Okay. Now, some of you as you're doing this exercise may think, okay, it works at 2, but the third one doesn't quite work. So let me help you a little bit. So when these 2 words are things that you breathe in and you breathe out. So things that you experience for yourself as an experience, but also things that you bring to the world, you give out to the world, right? So sometimes people will think, okay, well, some experiences. So if you think of it that way, does your 2 words actually work with all your stories? Usually we find it does, right? But if it doesn't, don't worry. We can still work with you to figure out, maybe there'll be another word that will capture the essence of all your stories together, and they'll work for you. Okay? That's it. So finally, there are 3 tests. The final test, Roshani, I'm going to ask you now just to close your eyes.
Yep.
Okay. And if I were to say to you, the reason why you're on this planet is to awaken destiny. And awakening destiny is what your life is all about. How do you feel?
Blessed and humbling.
Okay. Do you have a physical sensation somewhere?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Roshani, what happens when we finally meet our 2-word purpose is that it sits in our bodies in different places, in different ways. You know, right now you've closed your eyes and there's a sensation. So I'd like you to keep your eyes closed. And I'd like you just to see before you just a beautiful expanse, somewhere where peace and calm resonates for you, an open space. As you see the open space, to the left of your sight line, there is a huge rock. It's a rock that you need to climb up, but it's not a rock that is impossible for you to climb. As you go towards that rock, you can see the most stunning sword in the rock. And it just draws your attention. As you scale up the rock, as you come to look at the sword that is in that rock, at the hilt of the sword, which is the bit you hold, it has written in the most beautiful writing, awakening destiny. As you take hold of the sword, to your surprise, it falls out of the rock really easily. And what you're doing is just looking at the sword. You're looking at the sword. Yeah. Roshani, can you mute your audio? Just mute it. Thank you. So you're looking at the sword, Roshani. Okay? And what you're doing is that you're just getting used to the weight of it. You're absolutely stunned by the beauty of the sword. The sword can be any shape you want it to be. But what has surprised you is that as you've held the hilt of the sword, the hilt has formed into the shape of your hand. What you now do is come down from the rock and you're playing with it. You're moving it around. You're getting used to this 2-word purpose. And now, as you hold it, you have a choice. Where do you want to carry this sword? Your 2-word purpose. Because a sword you can carry in many ways. You can wear it on your hip. You can wear it in between your shoulder blades at the back. You can wear it across your chest, across your back. As you start to move it to that place where you want it to sit, the moment you move it there, the sheath of the sword will appear, and that's where it rests. That's where it rests. Because it's now yours. It's yours. It's a weapon in some ways that cuts through the nonsense of the world, but it's also something that defends. It's also something that leads the way, but it's yours. And so as you carry that, it will always be there. And so what tends to happen sometimes in certain situations where things are going on, where you feel uncertain or things are happening in the day-to-day that just takes us off of our center, some people will just put their hand to that place where they see the sword sitting, where they feel the life and the energy of that two-word purpose staying. So as you do that, where does your hand go? Let it rest there. And just welcome those two words. That is the new home. That is where it resides. And as you welcome it and as you receive that, in your own time, just bring yourself back to this place and join us back into this session. Welcome back. Thank you. So Roshani, if you put your mic back on, if you'd kindly share to us, what was that experience for you? What was happening?
I was just focusing on the words, so I put them onto the alphabets to be physically there, and connect with the written word of sorts. And maybe because I keep working with this thing, it naturally comes. But yeah, so it is how something is, it's like a film fade in where it grows into its maximum opacity.
Yeah.
So I allowed it because it came from the nothingness of life. And it awakened my destiny where I could not see it at all. And most of the times it happens because we cannot see it with our naked eyes, what is in store for us. But we miss the signs because we disallow the fade in to happen and we keep it away. So I allowed its full bloom and let it come to its most illuminating opacity, where the shine of it was blinding, and then that same shine was there on the sword as well. And I allowed the words to be written on the sword as well, until it blinded the sheen of the sword of swords. And it just grew in its power. How you have a fader button and you keep turning it on till you reach this end of the illuminating point.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Roshani, for sharing.
Thank you. Wow. Can we just give a hand? Of course. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing this with us.
Thank you.
So in the interest of time, I'm just going to share just this. Okay. I want to go back to
also, did Wendy, did you have something you were going to show just then? So you moving the pen.
Capturing some of the two words that I've seen, like that's mine and that's Andrew's and Isdro, and I think this is Roshani and Tony. So if people found the two words, they can share if they like to.
Yeah, put them in the chat. Absolutely.
Put them in the chat. And then if I go through this slide here, I'll make this deck available to you. So what we'd like to do is that we'd love this message to continue around the world. So you can use the deck and run the same process with your friends and people to help them find their 2 words, right? So that way, then we can create a community of people that actually are brought alive by this. So this is the last thing I did with Roshani, which is to find the 3 tests we use for the life purpose. One is, are you excited by the words? Obviously, that's really important. Second thing is, do the words all resonate with the 3 happy stories? And the last one, I can't really do with all of you individually because I need to speak it out to you. So find someone to say to you after this thing, read out that phrase. The reason why you're on this planet is to, and substitute with the 2 words you've got, all right? And then whatever those 2 words are is what your life is all about. How do you feel about that? So that's just the phrase, or substitute with some other phrase is fine. But the idea is we want to move from the head to the heart. We want you to experience it somatically in your body, because if you experience it there, you then begin to live it out, if that makes sense. So what I'm going to do now, thank you. Just keep them coming. If you got your 2 words, keep them coming. Just put them to the chat, and then we can. All right. Now, if you don't have your 2 words quite yet, right, you will at least have. It'll be in progress. Let me say you have the destination of your 2 words. You're not quite sure whether it's relating community or restoring community, right? But it's roughly in the right direction. You know the direction is about community, and you know the direction is about something to do with the relationship within the community itself. Okay, so you just call that as a work in progress, and the 2 words will drop, and they will come for you if you sit with them for a while, or go through this exercise with a friend and say, look, can you help me think of what those words might be? Sometimes it's helpful to have someone else work with you on those 2 words, right? And then do the test afterwards. So what we're going to do for the rest of the time that we have here is to help you ground those 2 words. Because as I said at the beginning, we're not word crafting here. We're trying to find something that becomes your internal compass, that becomes your internal GPS. That's going to guide you whatever you do from this day forward for the rest of your life. Right? Before I do that, I think there's often a question is that, do these 2 words ever change? And the answer is sometimes, but usually it changes when you're very young. If you find these 2 words when, say, you're a teenager, and then it's not surprising sometimes when you get into your 20s and 30s, when you've had more life experience, that those words might change. But for many of us, for myself, my 2 words haven't changed since I've got them in 2010, right? So they've been the same words ever since then. The way to think about them is that they're not definitions. These are not what defines you. They're containers. It's like imagine a bucket. And this bucket has your 2 words on it: awakening destiny or transfiguring lives, right? And into this bucket, you have 3 stories currently, the 3 stories that you've just come up with in this session. But once you've got the bucket, for the rest of your life, that bucket's going to get more and more full with other stories that are going to emerge because you've now found your 2 words. So if I see you in a couple of years' time, I said, how's it going? How's your 2 words? You say, Andrew, it's amazing. Those words now resonate so much more for me because of all the things that have happened since then. Does it kind of make sense? So your words actually keep growing, and therefore that's why they don't need to change, because they are actually words that just a container for these wonderful, happy experiences that you're going to be gathering over your life. Remember, these words come from the essence of your happiness. So they're going to fire you up. They're going to excite you. They're going to change you. Right, and that's how it works. We don't have time in this session, but we do this work with businesses, and we get everyone in a team to find their 2 words, and then we bring all these 2 words together into a community. And when you do that, it's like the purposes get multiplied. They're squared. The effect is electric, and you find that actually an organization or group begin to move in the direction that they're supposed to move in.
Yeah.
To tap into your purpose. Right? So what we're going to do now...
There's no point in having a mission statement that doesn't speak to the people that are driving the mission. That's why a lot of corporations have mission statements and they're just platitudes. But when you have a corporation or a group of people that have gone through this purpose exercise and then they craft their mission statement out of the multi-purpose, the traction they get is quite incredible. And they actually are happy and enjoying what they do, which is, well, there's no price you can put on that. So yeah, Andrew.
Great. So what I'm going to ask you to do now is, wow, thank you. Great. Thanks, Melanie, for that comment.
Oh, wow.
Inspiring humanity. Now you have your own too. So you can see,
That's
Melanie,
beautiful.
how those two words would probably align quite nicely with inspiring humanity. It would surprise me if it doesn't align, but now you can bring your unique flavor to it, right? So that's beautiful. Thank you. So I'm going to help everyone try and ground this and land this now in yourself, because we need to experience this somatically. So I'd like you just to close your eyes for a moment and think of your two words, or the two words that's in progress. And as you breathe in, just breathe in the first word. So for me, if I'm breathing in, transfiguring, and then you breathe out your second word, lives. So just find a nice rhythm of breathing and breathe in and breathe out your two words. Experience these words in your breath. Your life purpose words are things that you experience by breathing in, but you also experience it by giving out. Continue breathing in and breathing out your two words. Then taking your left hand or your right hand, I'd like you to do a body scan. Just don't touch your body. Just come close to where you are and scan your body, and stop at the place where you feel the most energy coming from your body. Right. So it could be different parts of different one of us. For me, it's like right here in the solar plexus, right in this core of my beings, when I sense the power of my two words the most. And when you find that spot, what I'd like you to do is just to touch your body at that spot and make a connection. You should feel something at that point. When you touch your body at that point, you should feel an energy that connects your two words with in your body, and something happens. Okay, so when you're ready, you can just come back to the room and open your eyes. What I've just taught you is a really simple way of centering using your two words. So at the beginning of a day, or just before an important meeting, if you have like a minute or two, you just breathe in and you breathe out. You breathe in and you breathe out. If you only have 10 seconds, just touch the part of the body where you've just touched. And you'll bring back to mind the resonance of those two words just come back to you. Then in the meeting that you're just about to have, an important meeting with a client or with a boss or whatever, you can be centered. You are now speaking from the platform of your core purpose or your life purpose. And you authentically you at that point. And when you do that, you find that you will have a power, a strength that will surprise you. You'd be speaking truth into a situation from this point. Right? Simple exercise. You might want to try it if you have a mindfulness practice. You might want to try and incorporate that into your mindfulness practice in the morning. Because what happens with your two words, they start off as something you experience, and then they become a lens through which you can look at life. Things that you can bring to any situation, anywhere. And that's your unique contribution to the world. That's your hero story. This is you as the hero. Okay. So we're going to do one more thing and just make it really fun. And what I'm going to do now is ask you to stand up wherever you are. Just take a stand up if you can. If you can't, it's okay. Just stay sitting down. And Israel is going to demonstrate something. What I'd like you to do is to pretend that you're in an art gallery of some kind. right? So, and that you're going to be a statue in that gallery, and you're going to be the statue of your life purpose. Okay, so I'm going to put the spotlight on Israel because you are an amazing actor, my friend. So your 2 words are, tell us what they are, and then do it.
Unleashing heaven. So the statue, so what happens is you're going to find that I will slowly go, and then I will end in my final position, but the whole movement is the communication of unleashing heaven. And it's something like this. So from your space. So I'll do it once more. So we're going to invite you to find a space, stand up, and let your 2-word purpose speak to your body. And don't inhibit yourselves, just move and find a statue, a position that resonates those 2 words.
Okay. And as you do that, just notice the energy inside of you. Right? It's about what's going on inside. It's the energy that releases. I don't know for you, but when Israel did what he did, I felt something in my room, even though we are far away from here. I felt something like a wave touch me when Israel did his statue. It was very powerful. I can feel it. And if you do it, just try it out. I'm going to minimize you. So, yeah. Okay. So stand up. And when you're ready,
and then begin when you're ready.
just notice how it feels for you when you do this. Notice the change in the atmosphere of the Zoom that we're in now as everyone's releasing their life purpose into the Zoom space. This is the hop-in space, the Zoom space, the hop-in space. So you can all feel this energy in the room. And now just imagine what this is going to be like when you're now going to walk into the world of life in your community and you intentionally release your life purpose into this community. Out of your deepest place will flow a river of life, a river of truth that brings life wherever it flows, that brings joy, happiness, connectedness, like a multifaceted diamond. If all of us do this together and we live out our truth, we're going to change the world. Thank you very much. Please take a seat.
So there's something that, for us to remember, that it's a poem that we've heard before, but these words keep going round and round in my mind. So I'd like to give this to you. It's a popular poem, but I'd like you to close your eyes and just receive these words. Just receive these words in relation to your two-word purpose. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is your light, not your darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as you let your own light shine, and we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same, as we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. So, the question you now face is this. How will I let my light shine? How will I let my flame of truth burn so brightly that it draws other people of truth to my flame? William Shakespeare wrote a particular play where the character said, "To be or not to be, that is the question." As we give this gift to you, we ask you, what is now your question? Thank you.
Thank you. Wow. Guys, I feel very emotional at the moment.
It is.
It's such an emotional moment. Just sense this across the room. We're in different continents, different places, but this is a really special moment. Something is being birthed here that's going to have ramifications across the whole world.
That's true to me, what Israel said. It's not, it's like you're afraid because of the light you have, not because of the darkness.
I'm kind of mindful of time. Is this the end of our session now? Is it 10? I think, when are we supposed to finish? I can't quite remember. But 10:30? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. You have time. Okay. Okay. Thanks, Bogdan. We're not going to use the breakout rooms. I think thank you for setting them up. Really appreciate it. I think it was meant to be that we stay together this whole time. Because I think when you discover our purpose, it's like that river, and it's really, we are like different streams, different currents within a bigger river. As we come together, we flow, and the river gets bigger and bigger. And wherever the river goes, it brings life. It's an ancient prophecy that was spoken many, many years ago, but it's the same. It works today. And we all have yes, as Melanie says, we all have a very special bond. Okay, apparently we have another 25 minutes. That's great. That's wonderful. Okay.
Could I ask something?
Sure, please. Sure.
Could you throw light on this, which I speak at a lot of times in our workshops and things, where I see statements which I read, where people put out on the spiritual context of life purpose, where statements like, if you're not doing what you love, if you're not living your life purpose, you're wasting your life, and stuff like that, which I always kind of step away from, because that's not the truth of life. And I see so many people struggling with this fact of with the influx of the internet, where they read these kind of things, and so many, I'm leading a useless life doing this work. And just to throw light that I feel we all have a purpose, big or small, and somebody's purpose may just be that loving mother who is bringing up beautiful children who are going to be amazing humans tomorrow in life. And that is the purpose, because without a purpose, none of us have plonked onto earth. So I feel that change makers, like all of us in the room, if we can throw light on this, that even when you have to do your job, that would be the purpose at that time. So if I have to fuel the kitchen of my house and I have to be in that job, that's my purpose during that time, unless something else unfolds, as you rightly said, Andrew, that when you're a teenager, the words would be different. And as you grow and you evolve, the words could change. But at the same time, it may not be that life purpose means that big mountain and, things like that. And I feel so many people, feeling inferior, feeling that lack about themselves. And I try to bring this point every time up that, nobody is meaningless. And even if you're not doing these big things of inspiring and unleashing or whatever it could be, I didn't know. I just wanted to go to Cannes and be on the red carpet and make a film, so I didn't know this was in store. And I feel that if we can impart a few words from each of you of how to just every day wake up and say, universe, what can I do today within the purpose that exists? What can I do today within what I have in hand and what my skills are, what my passion is, and put it to use for outside of me and me together. I feel if some encouraging words to everyone over here from all of you pertaining to this could really help. So at no point should feel meaningless or lesser in any way just because their purpose has not evolved or just because their purpose is not as mountainous as somebody else's. So would love you to share.
Yeah, I love what you said. One of the things that I say to people is that your life purpose word is not a destination, it's a direction. Right? So meaning that actually is not whether you are, so my two words transferring lives, whether I'm at home with my wife or whether I'm doing this now with all of you, or whether I've got an even bigger stage, it's the same. It's who you are. It's about your identity and your essence. And it's about you being authentically who you are. I'll give you an example. Let's say that you're working as a cashier in a supermarket. Right? The job is quite monotonous. You're checking in goods every day, putting it through the counter. And your life purpose is loving people. Those are your two words, right? You could say at one level, my life purpose and what I do are two completely separate things. I should get a new job. I should do something else. Or you could say, let me play a game. Every customer that comes through the till, I'm going to try and make them smile and make them and connect with them in some way. So you do the same thing. You check the items in, goes in and out, but you have a nice conversation with Mr. Smith or Mr. Banerjee or whoever it may be coming through the line. And guess what? You're bringing them a smile. Your time goes much quicker. You are engaged with your life purpose, and your bosses are happy too, because suddenly customer service has gone through the roof. Right? All without any increase in pay or increase in or threat of losing your job or whatever it may be. And this is this is the central message. Everyone has got a light within you. Just let it shine. But to your second point about scale and context, it's also sometimes we have a big stage. And if we don't step onto that stage, then there is a gap. There's a vacuum. And we need the courage to step encourage the world to step into that place that is meant for them. Because if we don't, then the bullies of this world will take that place. And they will fill that space with hate. They'll fill that space with untruth and things that then crowd out the goodness that is in all of us. So it is both, and absolutely. There's no ranking in this.
True.
So if someone in our community is, has a mental handicap or whatever it may be, we might see it that way, they're challenged in some way, they're loved just as much. They have just as much an important place in our lives, and we need to honor them, walk with them, love them, connect with them in the same way. And they bring something to our lives that only uniquely they can bring.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wendy. No, Mystique, go for it.
I just have a question. For example, like your example, Andrew. So you found out your life purpose, and that's what makes you happy, and that's what you want to do. But are there like steps that you can do when you're scared to go out there and do it? Like you wanted to, and you know that that's what is like bringing you happiness, but you're just really scared to go out there and start doing it.
Great question. Wendy, I think some of your story feeds into this.
Thank you. Maybe this is where we bring in the big shoes.
Yeah, go for it, Wendy.
Yeah.
All right. All of you have your 2 words. If you could write your 2 words onto a piece of paper, right? Imagine so mine's inspiring resilience. So when we have our purpose, it doesn't mean that we don't have our human worries and fears and concerns, right? Whether it's a huge stage that you're meant to go on, a book that you're writing, or raising 3 children, on your own or on my own at one point. We have our circumstances that can really scare us. It could be because it's such a big task or a big ask, or because it is just something that's happening. So if you've got your words, right, and we've got a big shoe, because sometimes it feels as if we've got a huge shoe to step into, and we're not sure if we're going to fit that shoe or if we're going to trip while wearing that shoe. So I'd like you to take your 2 words, and if you don't have a big piece of paper, it's okay. A small piece of paper will do as well, okay? And I'd like you to now stand up. And I want you to put your 2 words, your life purpose, right in front of you. And if you don't want to stand up, you can put it on a table and look at it. But it'd be great if you can do this so that it's a little bit kinesthetic as well. And as you look at your 2 words, just allow yourself some time to acknowledge that there might be some fears. So thank you, Mystic, for being vulnerable and bringing that vulnerability and authenticity into our space as well. Because when I look into my 2 words, inspiring resilience, and thinking about the book I want to write, I have these thoughts as well, and it might resonate with you. So as you look at your 2 words, are you thinking, oh my goodness, this is really huge? Who am I? A small woman in Singapore to inspire resilience. I have fears that I'm not good enough, that there's others better than me, that my stories suck, or my stories are not good enough. Who am I to live this purpose? So as you are aware of those concerns and fears, that higher being could be God to you, your source, whoever you believe in, and say, these are my fears, take it from me. So lay those fears and cares, those burdens, because it could be burdens that you carry, that I carry from the past. That I had a past where I thought I was a failure of a wife. I had a past where I thought I let so many people down. I wasn't a good person, but that was my past. And so I want you all to see yourself taking your burdens and your fears and just lay it behind you. And those burdens has also given you some strength. It's given me courage. It's given me empathy. It's given me love for humanity. So I want you to embrace those other strengths that you have in you as well. Creativity, love, courage, humility, service. Bring forth to yourself those strengths and gifts and blessings that you also have. And see those gifts and blessings and values and strength. I want you to hold those. And I want you to look at your words. And I want you to step into your 2 words. Step onto the piece of paper. And I want you to breathe your strength, your gifts, your blessings, and have it all aligned with yourself, aligned within yourself, aligned with your purpose. And I want you to just be here for a few seconds and just experience it. Breathe in your first word. Breathe out your second word. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. And gently open your eyes. How was that for you? You can pick up your shoes, or pick up your 2 words and bring it back. Thank you, Mystic, for asking that question. Well, we all have our past and our fears and our sense of, the difficulties that we had gone through. But it's also those difficulties that brought us strength.
Could I just
And
share a
there's
little
blessings
bit?
in those burdens. And I want you to wear those scars proudly and step right into your purpose, Mystic. For they make who you are, make you so wonderful and courageous and strong and loving and humble and vulnerable in all your beauty.
Mystique is, the word fear in English, of course, is spelled F-E-A-R. F-E-A-R. I usually take that word when I have it and I write false evidence appearing real. False evidence appearing real. F-E-A-R. Yeah. What is it that has caused myself to be fearful in this context about the next step I need to make, when every other step has got me to this place to take that next step? Yeah. False evidence appearing real. Is it something in my psyche? Is it the lens and the filter I'm looking through? What is it that's causing me to do that? And that invites me to look straight in straight in to really ask myself the question, what am I actually fearful about? What is it? Because fear is like a shadow. The shadow of fear is much bigger than the object itself. Yeah, false evidence appearing real.
Could I add to this beautiful thing, Israel, which I often use? So thank you for sharing. And this is a very critical ingredient because, fear is like a predominant emotion that we've taken through our entire evolutionary process, right up to being a human. Yeah. And there are these 2 action points, I feel, when we are in fear. We can either forget everything and run, and that's where we, collapse, and we allow that fear to overcome us and to kind of spiral us down, or we face everything and rise.
Yeah.
So beautiful.
Thank you for sharing.
When I stood on my word, it did this to my page, and it was like the paper got crumpled up. But there is beauty in brokenness.
Yes.
We overcome when we are broken. When we overcome when we go through this. We don't get it right. We're not perfect. But it is in that imperfection that actually life leaks out.
Wow. Yes.
And Moses says, isn't fear an important ally?
Yeah.
Yeah. Fear also drives us on. Fear also signifies the importance of the next step. So yes. Yeah.
I feel it's like a double-edged sword that Israel you mentioned.
Yes.
And the duality with everything has its use and misuse. So when fear can be used positively, there is positive fear, which can actually motivate us and take us to the next leap. And there is negative fear that can completely consume us.
Yes.
So it kind of presents itself, and according to our, interconnectivity with fear, it can be molded and shaped into that outcome, I think, that we wish to desire to see or bring about in our life.
Yeah. I love what Tony had said here. 2 opposing energies cannot occupy the same space. Beautifully put, Tony. So true.
Yes.
Very good.
That message that stuck with me a long time.
Yeah. Powerful.
It's science, really.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Lovely. About what Wendy said about the breaking part. So just on a quick note, that I had my own life-death situation during an illness, and by the time I came out of it, I was almost in the 2 years of it, along with medical debts. I was on a 10 million debt, kind of a thing, which is humongous. And I had an 85-year-old father with me. And in those 4 years, in 2009, when all of this started happening, I never had, usually a lot of people have these family astrologers or gurus in India, kind of a thing. And I had absolute no spiritual seeking ever to have anybody like that in my life. So I didn't even have anyone to go to. And the best thing was to embrace these, unknown things that were coming up, rather than trying to fight it. Because the more I realized, the more you fight, the more restraint, and the more the opposite force wants to show up, in its defense mechanism. And slowly, while succumbing to what was happening, there was no way out besides selling off my house, which I bought in 2000 and thereafter. And it was that possibly in the positive side of it, every time that I would just say, I didn't even meditate any part of my life till then. And I would just sit blank, leaning against my wall, and I had things just pouring in. And I would keep writing because I didn't know where they were coming from. and who to ask about. And I realized the beauty in all the sadness when I told my father, we have to sell the house. There's no other way I can get this money, to pay the banks and institutions. Out of that, about 6.5 million was only my medical debts by then, and which is about 60 to 65 lakh rupees, for example, in Indian rupees. And every time that everybody said things on how sad they were that I have to sell my house, this thing kept on coming strongly, that this house was made to be bought only so that at this point in time of where my resurrection of life is there, I can suffice and, pay up for myself. Otherwise, I had no other person to go to pay that kind of money. And if I didn't have this house which God brought me, then I don't know what would be there, kind of a thing. So the entire thing got turned positively, that I'm thanking this house that it is there so that I can pay off today,
Amen.
And what was, not existing was got in 2000. It's going away. And at some point in time, it'll, it is there in us to bring it back, kind of a thing. And if it is destined, then therefore destiny plays a very important word and role play for me. That if it is destined, then my work will bring it back if I'm meant to have it. Otherwise, that only was the purpose. And that house had its own purpose. So everything, animate or inanimate, has a purpose of existence. And it has its own shelf life. Like I always say, there's a reason and a season for everything to exist.
So what you say reminds me, and Rishra and Andrew, you got to help me with this. Isn't that song that goes, I will go out weeping and I'll come back with songs of joy, right? So there'll be a time when we weep, but there'll be a time when we have joy and dancing. And I want to say that there's a Chinese word. So there's 3 ways that the Chinese says of happy, and I learned this just the last few days. There is the kai sing, which is happy in a moment. There is the 快乐, happy, fast, 快, fast, joy. And then there is the 长乐, long, lasting joy. And what I want to say is, may we bless you with the long-lasting, everlasting joy. Let's all have those moments of joy and happiness, but let's also let's embrace the everlasting 快. I know 长了, everlasting. 长了 is just always learning something Chinese.
The word resonates so good when you say it. The voice resonation, yeah, 长了. It's like endings. Yeah, it's very good.
I like that.
Yeah.
And I think that's the theme that's coming out right in this session. There's something that resonates. Whether it's a word that you speak, you can say your words in a very quiet voice and very disinterested, or you can speak it out in a way that is full of strength and power. Not necessarily loud, but it's something that you carry within you that Israel so beautifully released when even without words, right? You do the statue and you release something. And that's what we're looking for in this world. We're trying to release something that has the power to create and recreate, to heal, to bring forgiveness, to bring wholeness. And that's what we're here for, this whole session. So again, so grateful to you, Tahira, for bringing all of us together in this session, right? Because it's a way for truth to land. It's my sense yesterday that truth was flying like a bird, looking for a landing place.
Yeah.
It's looking for you and me. So if you're willing for this bird to rest on you, it will come. Truth will come, and it will land on you, will sit on your shoulders, and it will comfort you. But the moment you start living out of fear, you start giving into those things, you start giving into falsehood, or giving into the lies, the personas that cover things up, then that bird will as quickly leave as it came. It will just leave you for a while until it can land again on you and you carry it. So I think that's something. So how should we end this, Israel?
Well, I think what we will end it with is what we call a 2-word checkout.
2 words.
We're going to give 2 words. Thank you, Melanie. We're going to give 2 words, and the 2 words are literally, how are you feeling now? What has spoken to you? What are your insights? And, you know, it could be 1 word. Some people might just say awesome. Some people might say freedom. Some people might give their 2 words. But you can either speak it, write it and show it, or put it in the chat. 2 words to describe exactly how you are feeling. Shall be upon our heads, hearts. Yes. Thanks, Lincoln. So 2 words. Go for it, Steve.
Fluffy freedom. I love that.
Moses.
Fantastic.
Flowing. Lyndon has talked about things being upon his head and hearts. We've got
Moses flowing.
Mystique, what was yours?
Do it. Just do it.
Do it. Just do it.
Just do it.
Knowing.
Yeah.
From Tony.
You just know the fears are false evidence. So, and
Yes.
I really have to ask myself what those fears are, even if that is like a valid fear. So
Yeah.
just do it.
Wow, liberating light.
Liberating.
Totally, yeah, rediscovering myself. Totally.
Beautiful. 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 Wow.
The words coming to my mind are new birth, actually new birth.
That's true.
Yes. Yes.
Energized, Wendy said. Very good. Yeah, totally.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, that is amazing. Really, it's an amazing experience.
Beautiful. Well, guys, we are coming to the end of our session. Just want to say thank you. Thank you for wonderful. I want to thank you really for just being so open and so real and just trusting us as we have walked with you in this session. What you've experienced is a very real experience of how we as authentic business work with our clients. This is sort of what we do. And you can see why this brings transformation at a level that very few people have experienced, because they don't expect a consultancy like us to carry what we carry and bring what we bring. And so, you know, if you want to contact with us, please do. You know, you can contact in networking, you can thank you, exactly.
I love the show and tell.
You know, our information is on the expo boards, you know, and if there are people who want us to get to meet, you know, further conversations, reach out to us. You know, we are a consultancy. We do what we do, and we do it from a place of love, a place of truth. And we really want to impact more people, not just on the personal level, but we want to impact more people also on the cultural level and therefore on the national level. So thank you so much, guys. It really has been an honor and a pleasure spending time with you. It really has.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yes, thank you.
Thank you for coming on the stage.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you guys for being brave.
Thank you so much.
And I'm going to try and find out, I'm not sure how to do this, but I will leave this presentation I have somewhere so you can then pick it up. And what I would encourage you to do is to use that, use the process, give it as a gift to someone else and get them to do it to someone else. So if 1 billion people on our planet can find their life purpose, I think something might change on this planet. Right? So this is my hope, my dream. And I need all your help to get it out there. So it's not a difficult process. It's all there on the PowerPoint, and you can then use that with your friends or whatever. Yeah, fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, my partners in crime, Israel, Wendy.
Thank you. Bye-bye.